Hi, everyone, and welcome to season 3 of our Live Well podcast. To our returning listeners, thank you so very much for tuning in last season. And to our new listeners, welcome to our Live Well space, where we discuss everything from nutrition, health, and wellness. Just to reintroduce myself, my name is Josanne Singh, and I am the Nutrition, Health, and Wellness Analyst here at Nestlé. I hope with this podcast that, to continue to raise awareness and also just to empower you, our listeners, to have the knowledge as well as the tools that you may need to overcome any challenges that you may identify with or even resonate as we discuss the different topics this season. Now, to kickstart this season, we're going to talk about something very exciting, but for me sometimes, and I'm sure for most of you, it can be equally as frustrating. And yes, we're going to be talking about shopping. Now, to have this conversation with me, I have one of my very favorite persons, and that's no other than Shaunelle Mieres-Aparicio. Hi, Shaunelle.
Hi, Josanne. I feel really special. You're saying that I'm one of your favorite persons.
Yes, you are, and you know it. So, Shaunelle, before we dive into this, would you like to tell everyone about yourself?
Okay, I'm going to try my very best. So my name is Shaunelle Mieres-Aparicio, and I am the Nutrition Science Manager at Nestlé. I have been a nutritionist for the last, I would say, 14 years.
So, Shaunelle, let's just get right into it. I know you love to shop.
Oh gosh, I do. I love to shop for food, especially. I love to eat. Okay, no judgment on this podcast, no judgment at all.
Definitely not. And we do love to eat. You would see us once we don't have any meetings scheduled by 11 a.m. We're
Lunchtime.
It's time to eat. Are you ready to eat?
So it's all about the shopping cart. And I mean, this topic, I really hope we add value. We share some of our experiences, some of our expertise, right? So when we talk about it's all about the shopping cart, Josie. Where we're taking this?
Well, based on personal experiences too, when I go to the grocery or even to the farmer's market, I get so excited. You want to purchase everything, anything that looks nice and fresh, it catches my eye. I'm like, I want it. And so said, so done. You tend to put it in your cart, you take it home, and sometimes you don't use it.
Yeah, that's the reality of it, even for myself, because I like colors, right? So colorful, fresh, nutritious. I mean, when we go to the grocery, when we go to the market, we say, okay, and especially if you watch a TikTok video how to cook different recipes, you get excited and you say, okay, I'm going and cook this weekend. And then you go to the shopping, you go to the grocery, you purchase a whole lot of different items. But guess what happens? When the work week starts, sometimes we have long meetings, we have long days. When we come home sometimes in the evening, we're so exhausted. We mean well, but then we realize, hey, I'm very exhausted, I'm tired, I don't think I'll be able to cook. So it's a reality, and I think a lot of consumers experience it. A lot of moms, parents, guardians, grandpas, or millennials, or Gen Zs. It's a true fact where we have good intentions, but realistically, it's a bit tough.
Especially when we try to go to the extreme, sometimes we think we need to probably cook every day, get everything done, But as you said, that may not be the reality every single day.
Every single day.
Some days you reach home and you're too tired to cook a meal with 3-4 different options.
And you know what I believe in, right? I say a hungry man is a hungry man. And not only that, I believe when you're cooking food, you have to be happy. You have to be in a good mood, because somehow, if you're grumpy, if you're upset about something, Josie, that pot don't taste good. So you see that mental space for cooking need to be there, right? Sometimes you say a hurry food and it really tastes like a hurry food. So, we want to look at some things that can help our consumers really understand, what we could do. What we could do with all these groceries, all these food items.
And realistically too, because sometimes we know the tips, we hear it all the time, but how does that actually translate into us actually doing it now?
And one of the things that I notice is that sometimes at the end of the week, you're going to clean the fridge and you realize, but wait, the broccoli or the melangen squish up, the carrots, like, oh my God, I forget I had that.
I'm so ashamed, but I bought broccoli last week and I had to throw it away on Sunday because it's sad.
And you know the price of broccoli, right? That's Mr. Broccoli, yeah? So we're encouraging the consumers not only to have broccoli, but you can have your local vegetables and stuff, but you don't want to waste. So that's very, very important. Wasting is not a key, it's not top priority. So you want to make sure that you don't waste. So just like a few things that we tend to do and we practice, mindful planning. I know we get excited with all the fancy food and you want to make this and that, but sometimes in real life, from Monday to Friday, and if you have kids, if you are single, if you have 3 and 4 jobs, if you are a stay-at-home mom, that time, you really don't have that time, because all those different areas I spoke about, that's a job.
Correct.
Right? That's a job, and sometimes you don't have that leisure, Josanne, to cook all these beautiful meals. So my advice, one of the things is to realistic for the month, try at least 2 to 3 new recipes, but do it on a weekend. Do it when you have some time.
Or if it's the opposite and you work a lot on the weekends, maybe identify a day during the week.
Yeah, or during the week, but if you have the time to do the nice, fancy, different meals. But if it is you don't have the time, but you want to ensure that you have food to eat, and not moving further away from our discussion, but it will tie into nutrition, because we are nutritionists by profession, right? So sometimes it's really important to plan your meals. Okay, so if you say you're cooking twice for the week, you want to do bulk cooking so you can put aside so you can have for the rest of the week. That will help you to save. One of the things in saving, you're not going to waste. So you're not going to just be purchasing all these different vegetables, fruits, and it's wasting, right? So you purchase what you need to cook.
So that means you need to know your plan ahead.
Realistically, at least say, okay, for this week, I'm going to have 2 options. 2 recipes I'm going to do, 2 meals that I'm going to do. So if you're going to do some pilau, right, some chicken, or even if you're vegetarian and just want to do some fish and pilau and you're veg, we have to ensure that we get the veg in. You cook enough for 2 days, at least 2 to 3 days, and then during the week, okay, I can make some time, I can do another meal. Right? That prevents you from wastage. You want to stay away from wastage and make sure that we use, right?
So make the grocery list.
The grocery list key, right? Long time I would say, but why my mom or my grandmother having a grocery list? Man, that could come off top of my head. But as you get older, you realize why the grocery list is definitely important.
And I mean, back then it was a physical list, you're right, and then you go with your little pen or pencil into the grocery, but now
things have changed. We have lots of technology.
Open your notes app and make your list.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, I'm saying that, and I feel like for me, it is something that I struggle with in terms of making an actual list. I make it part in my head,
but that's it stays up here.
It goes out the window as soon as I reach into the grocery, because I get, as we said, excited about the different things.
And then also it helps with budgeting too as well. Things are expensive, prices are going up, right? And it helps you even financially, where you could budget and not waste, because it's really a ticklish situation when you purchase these things and all spoil at the end of the weekend, right? So definitely make that list. Convenience.
That brings us a very important point. I mean, as we said, sometimes we don't have time to cook everything.
We don't. Josanne, sometimes I want to make things from scratch. Let me give you a little insight. I love avocado. Right. We have an avocado tree at home. We grew up with an avocado tree. We call it the village tree because everybody pass home for avocado. But one of the things I said, you know what? I want to make avocado oil.
Oh, you are very ambitious.
Well ambitious. When I see the process to make avocado oil, Josanne, I was there like, listen, I really want the avocado oil, but I can't make it from scratch. Unless probably you have some vacation, you have a little extra time that you can make it, because it's a long process. But sometimes we want to start things from scratch, but when we look at the process of doing it, it's a bit long. So convenience is one of the things we struggle with too as well. You're hungry, you don't know what to eat, or you come home after a long day, and as we said, we don't want to cook, you don't have the energy, you don't have leftover. Convenience, so we have things like canned foods. right? Try your canned foods, add some fresh vegetables.
Frozen as well.
Frozen vegetables if you like, or frozen foods, right? So it's really important to have that balance. So you have the fresh and then you have the convenience. Yeah.
I agree with you because, as I said, sometimes you have the ambition to, go home and cook all the time, but when sometimes you reach home, you're so tired. And like you said, the convenience of some of the foods, they play an important role in how we eat in our day-to-day. Like for me, for example, I have, those frozen like black bean patties, the frozen lentil patties. I would literally, if I'm tired, come home and just throw that in a pan, cook it, and put it in bread with some lettuce and tomatoes and those sorts of things. And that's a quick, easy meal. It takes probably 10 minutes, it's so long to prepare it.
And then, Josanne, we're talking about being exhausted and tired. But we have consumers who just don't like to cook, right? You don't like to cook, and that's all right. No judgment here, right? Because we have people who don't like to cook, but they like to eat, right? And some who like to eat nutritious, and some who just want a little extra nice, extra fat, a little extra carbs, a little extra protein. So the thing is, we want to make sure that all our consumers understand that it's okay if you don't like to cook. And if you don't like to cook, there's convenience. And then we also recommend fresh. So you have the platform of both. And both have disadvantages and advantages. When we look at benefits, now we talk about the Caribbean 6 food groups, right? And we talk about macronutrients and micronutrients. Now, all foods fit into a healthy lifestyle, but we get different vitamins and minerals from a wide range. So variety is the key. Yes. So if you continually, say, eating rice every single day, you're missing out on some key nutrients from other food. So convenience may not be that bad, convenience may not be that bad because you get that variety. So I always recommend you have that balance. But the main point is ensuring that you eat nutritious.
Variety, and you get it.
And you get a variety of food. And I do not promote starving unless you're fasting for religious purposes. And those things are definitely key.
And raised quite a few important points there. And the one I'd like to kind of touch back on is the diversity. Yeah. Having a diverse amount of different fruits and vegetables or different foods from the food groups across the week is so important. And I will always say this, and I probably sound repetitive at this point, but that promotes good gut health. And they actually show that having, at least 30 or more plant varieties for the week supports good gut health. And that comes from anything from your peas and beans, your nuts, your herbs, your spices. So it's not difficult to get that at the end of the week.
Yeah. It's not difficult to get it at the end of the week, but you have to intentionally plan. Because that's the first group in the Caribbean 6 food groups that's left out. Let's be real. Vegetables out the door. Most of the times, especially in the Caribbean diaspora, it's carbohydrate staple food.
Sada roti and fire aloo.
Our pilau. And then also we have our oil down, our provision. Sometimes the plate is this big and the entire plate is provision. Nothing wrong with that, but there's no room for veg, no room for protein. And then we have to remember, as we tie it back to gut health, your gut is there's connection to every part of your body. So on that is one thing we realize, that particular food group is left out. It's left out. So you have to intentionally say, okay, every meal I am going to have some sort of vegetable. Even if it's frozen, even if it's fresh, I'm going to make sure that I have that. So it's really key to include that on your daily basis.
And that's where the planning comes into play, because you have to, as you said, be intentional.
You have to be intentional.
Plan ahead so that you purchase the vegetables to go with the different meals, to make sure that, it's something that you would like, because at the same time, you don't want to just throw a random vegetable with your meal and it just doesn't go with it at all.
Sometimes, I have one or two clients, they would say, Shaunelle, I just chuck some lettuce there. I just put the lettuce. They don't want it, but they put the lettuce because they hear you saying, add some veggies, right? But it's definitely a plus, and it helps in so many different ways. Yeah?
So, a question I would like to raise, when we go to, let's say, like the farmers market and or even sometimes we buy our produce in the groceries. And sometimes you have to buy it by like the pound or 2 pounds or whatever. You may not cook all of it. Would you recommend freezing or, yeah?
Definitely, I recommend freezing. Ensuring that you wash it properly, you prep it, you cut it, but separate it. Because sometimes when you freeze all, just an entire bulk, sometimes, the in and out of the freezer interferes with the food safety. So you want to ensure that you parcel it out. So okay, I'm using this amount of cassava for this meal, and you have packs of frozen cassava based on if it is you purchase, say, like now I see on the highway, they have it a long time. They will have like 6 pounds for $20. And you're like, oh gosh, it's just me. All this cassava, cut it up, freeze it, put it in a Ziploc bag. So when you're going to cook, you take out this amount of parcel, right? So definitely, I believe in that. And another thing that, I realized that helps people with budgeting and finance, I encourage people to buy as a group, as a friend group, as families. Go into the wholesale market and purchase an entire pumpkin, cut it up in half, share it. They say sharing is what? It's caring, but it really helps, and it helps financially too as well, because you will get these huge bags of okra, split it up. So if you have 2 or 3 friends, family members, cousins, anyone, you all get together, pull the money together, the resources, and it's a kind of fun way to when you go shop together, and it helps. So in that instance, you save some money. You also, when you save money now, you also prevent wastage. I really, Josanne, don't like to see food waste, right? So it helps in that kind of area. And then also friendship, laughter, fun, right? Getting together, and then also cooking together, right? And you can get together and cook and plan meals and parcel it out.
What someone actually suggested recently, and I found it was a great idea. Sometimes we just meal prep for ourselves.
Yes.
They suggested, I meal prep, you can meal prep as well, and then probably 1 or 2 days for the week we can exchange it so that you have something different to eat and something.
And then sometimes, you're cooking all the time for those who cook a lot. And you doesn't want to eat your food sometimes. The food tastes nice and yummy, but you're so accustomed to that.
I don't want to
you're so accustomed to that taste. You want something different. So that's a really cool idea. And it's really nice.
It's something worth exploring, especially as you said, if you get tired of eating the same thing or your own
same seasoning. You have that kind of, monotonous thing. You want to change it up a bit. So that's a really nice, cool idea.
Another thing I want to touch on is that you mentioned trying to do it all.
My avocado oil.
Yeah, and that's just one thing. And some persons may be extreme in terms of they want to try to do everything. So you want to make your oil from scratch. You want to make your milk from scratch. You want to your flour too. Some people want to make their own flour.
The rainwater. You want to hear a story? Josanne. Do you want to hear the story? Okay. So I also even tried for a while catching rainwater. Now, the properties of rainwater is really good, but listen to me, guys. The time to catch the rainwater, make sure and get it in time, make sure and strain it if there's any impurities, and then store it. I kept up with it for a week, Josanne, right? Now, in reality, the thing is, it's good to do these things because we do have consumers who can do these things from scratch. And I commend you, but in life now and in society, I really find sometimes we may not have time, we may not have that time to do the entire layout and the process to do these things from the beginning to the end, right? So that's why I recommend earlier in the podcast, if you want to try it on a Sunday, and that's okay,
You can try one thing.
You can try it. You can make your bread. A lot of people making their own bread. And listen, I tried it before. I've done it. I do my own bake sometimes. Like when I run out of bread, and I wake up in the morning, I say, "Oh gosh, I have no bread." Right? Yeah. And that's okay. Let me do a quick bake, and I make a quick bake. It's very delicious. But sometimes you may not have time to do that. Right? The time is really the convenience. But I commend persons who do it. Right? But the time is a factor that really pulls on you.
Yeah, basically, don't frustrate yourself.
Don't frustrate yourself.
Don't have the time to do it.
Because I find people, they get really down on yourself, and I really wanted to do this from scratch and I didn't get to do it, and you kind of you really go hard on yourself.
It puts an additional pressure that does not need to be there, basically.
Yeah, that doesn't need. So my advice is to really plan. Really try on a weekend, on long weekend, and in Trinidad we have vacations, some really
Quite a few holidays.
and we are thankful for them, right? You can try to do things from scratch, more on that end, so you start from the beginning to end and you really enjoy the process.
And a point that came out of that is that all foods have, or all different types of foods have a place within our general eating. I mean, yes, it's good to eat fresh, and it's important to incorporate the fresh foods all the time, but sometimes more of the convenience foods, as you see, they do play a part.
Yeah, you can do a balance, Josie, because when you look at it, you have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then snacks, right? Then we have persons who may be more physically active, they eat more, right? Yes. And variety is the key. So say, for example, if you're having a breakfast and you want to do a smoothie, you can throw in, say, some bananas. You may have almond milk, or we have those who have vegan oat milk. We may have some who have cow's milk. And you can have your breakfast, but you can put in your different elements. So that's why I spoke about balance is the key. Because some people may have a fig tree behind in the backyard. Some may not have a backyard.
They may have to purchase it.
And they will have to purchase it, and that is okay. Right? So that balance where I'm talking about. So you're still getting your fresh, you're still having items that you may have to purchase, right? And you add in different elements, like your hemp seeds or your chia seeds, or these different nuts and grains to add that protein in. So the balance definitely is the key.
So we spoke about cooking or preparing your meals at home, but something we did not touch on.
Tell me, Josiah.
Would be, those times where you may not have planned properly, and then, your Friday week has started, and you get up in the morning and you realize you did not buy any breakfast items.
Suzanne, I know about those days.
You're on the way to work and you're like, what am I going to eat? So you have to stop and buy something. Yeah. This is a hypothetical scenario, not speaking about myself anyway. But sometimes you do have to purchase like ready-made foods. Yeah. How would you advise consumers to navigate through that? How often should we be purchasing foods? Maybe what are some healthy or healthier options we could purchase? Because let's be real, sometimes when we're buying, it may not be the healthiest things that we go to. So what are some of your go-tos?
Go-to foods, Josie. Let me put some thought into it, but not take too long putting some thought into it. All right, so no judgment here, open space, right? So some of my go-to foods will be some fast food options, which would be like pizza. But what I do with the pizza, I ensure that I purchase veggie, so the loaded veggie, and then add a protein to it. So I'll add the chicken to it, so I get my vegetables. So I'm feeling hungry, I need to get something to eat. Starving is not an option for me. I will have probably pizza, and then also I'll make sure it's veggie, and then I'll ask them to add some protein to it. So that's one, right? we go into the other one. The second go-to would probably be wraps. If it is, I can get my hand on a nice wholesome wrap, right? But what I will do, first thing, I let them load it up with veggie, and then I will have my protein. The protein could be fish, it could be the turkey wrap, or sometimes I might just be a veggie. But a hungry man is a angry man. So when you see a hungry, I try not to keep it to that point where I'm really, really hungry. If I'm not that hungry and I'm thinking clearly, I will tell them a veggie wrap. If I'm not thinking clearly, girl, I need to get that protein in. So wraps, and then also, I am not a lover of doubles, meaning that I don't have some persons who will have doubles every week, 3 to 4 times. No, I will have it sometimes. So I am hungry, I need to get something. I prefer to have doubles in the morning, right? So you wouldn't see me having doubles in the night. I don't know why, but everybody's different. I'll have probably doubles if I have to. But I know you have a little area that you go to on a morning, because you confess every morning, Shaunelle, I had no breakfast. And let me hear what you have, Josie, for your go-to.
So, as Shaunelle just outed me, Recently, I find myself stopping and buying, mind you, it's whole wheat,
Yes, you must throw in the whole wheat, Josie.
whole wheat sourdough roti, and sometimes I would get it with roasted bacon.
Yeah.
Or don't judge me, but there's like a scrambled egg with like tomatoes and onions and those things. And I would usually get it with either one of those.
No, but Josie, why are you judging your scrambled eggs? Are delicious
I don't know. I feel
and
like
full with protein.
Not a lot of people have the combination of sourdough roti with scrambled eggs.
Okay. Yeah, normally you wouldn't use that combination. It's a little bit strange. But I mean, yeah, but I know it have some people who will do. But that's not bad.
My go-to for like dinner, especially, would be a gyro, like a chicken gyro, as you said, loaded with vegetables. And then I would look at the gyro man and be like, could you put like little to no sauce for me, please?
Oh, that'll make you feel better about yourself.
Yes, definitely. We both know our sauces carry a lot.
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Calories and fat content. And you know, when you see the hand going like this, you know, it's extra sauce. It makes it taste good.
My little fast food without it being too unhealthy.
Yeah, okay, good. I mean, and there are different things that you could go to. Some people prefer snacks too as well, like some nuts, some greens, just to keep them until they reach their destination to be able to have that, you know, thoughtful action on what to eat. But it's definitely a journey.
And that is always in my cart in the grocery. Nuts.
Yeah, a pack of nuts, definitely. Fruit, that's why I always say plan, guys. I will come back to this. You know, we have this, you know, we have Trinidadians, and I find, you know, Caribbean moms, and even if you're not a mom, dads too as well, grandparents, we always packing for the world. Everybody have a lunch kit except who? Except you. So it's important that you are part of that packing crew, and that extra lunch kit belongs to you. So even some fruits, some yogurt, some nuts, some greens. So when you have those days that you cannot have a meal, at least you have something until you reach your destination and you reach at home. Right? So it's really important. Those go-to foods, don't be hard on yourself. I prefer that you have something to eat, and even fried foods, they have a place. But what I will tend not to do, for me, and everybody's different, I won't have the fries. So if I have to have fried chicken, I won't do fried chicken and fries. No, I'll have the corn, or I'll probably ask for coleslaw. I mean, the best, you know, is it for me? I see it as better. Still getting some vegetables in, right? And then also choosing the breast, right? The breast side of it, so you get that meat, that protein. It may not be lean after we fry it up, but still, you know, because you have those days you're on the road, it's like, what are going on eat? And I'm starving. You may be in traffic, so at least pack some kind of snacks. At least have something, and then also your go-to foods. Figure out where your go-to area is. And I mean, as I say, I don't believe in starving, Josie.
And I'm always the one to have snacks.
Yes, you do.
I pack for myself, and I always tend to pack extras so that I can share with my friends and my colleagues. Like Shaunelle.
But I bailed you out the other day, Josie.
Yeah, she really did. I was starving, getting a headache in the middle of a meeting, and Shaunelle had a pack of nuts. So we take care of each other. So we spoke about purchasing foods, and I feel that we need to clarify and place emphasis on the fact that we should not really be using not having time too often as a reason for just continuously buy food every day.
Yeah.
That we must always try to strike a balance between cooking at home or preparing meals at home and purchasing as well. Not just, you know, saying that we have no time.
I agree with you. And when you talk about purchasing, you know, we talk also about purchasing local and also imported.
Yeah, so we should, as you said, it's important that we be intentional when we go into the supermarkets or we go to the markets in general, and be mindful of the fact that if something is produced locally, we should support our local, you know, manufacturers or local farmers, because I was doing some reading and it was actually shown that we actually import at least up to 60% of the foods that we eat. And to make matters worse, some countries even go as high as 80%.
Ow.
Yeah, they import at least 80% of the food that they eat. So, you know, it shows that we do have an issue in terms of how much food we're eating that's imported. versus our locally produced or manufactured foods?
I really would like to encourage our consumers and our family and friends that shopping local is very important, right? So I know in the beginning of the podcast we talk about your broccoli, how your broccoli spoiled. Now, not saying that we shouldn't have imported foods, but we also should make sure we purchase our melon, our cabbage, our same, our okra, our pumpkin, your provision, the list goes on. We have a really good solid list of vegetables and fruits that are local. Shopping for your fruits when it's in season. Not saying that you can't have it when it's not in season, but you notice when it's in season, it is sweeter. You get a true taste of it, and the nutrient level is higher.
It's cheaper too when you shop in season.
Definitely, because there's the mass amount availability. So local is definitely important, but we spoke about the balance. So the key is having that balance, because sometimes you might want some imported stuff, but you can't always afford the imported items, right? So that balance, to strike that balance, is very, very key.
You center on the topic of supporting local. And it's true that, we have right now, we're going towards a cashless society here. And I think sometimes I'm guilty of it as well, of not having cash with me. And I think it goes back to being intentional as well, when, to take out some cash and have it with you at all times, because sometimes you may be driving.
That is my mantra, Yes. I have some cash, because when I'm on the highway and I see 3 pineapples for $20, listen, Josie, we don't pass up those kind of deals.
I think part of this entire conversation, that is an important aspect of it, making sure you have cash with you, because you're not going to go to the small farmer or the small person and expect them to have a card machine. So I think part of supporting local is making sure you have the resources to support them, and that means having cash with you. So, Shaunelle, I think we spoke about a number of different things here today. Would you like to leave our listeners with anything else?
Sure, definitely. To summarize this entire podcast for today, we want to make sure intentional shopping is important. Planning, try to plan. All right. Sometimes you might have a hit and miss, but at least try to plan. Make sure you budget. Ensure that you get your vegetables and your fruits in. Make sure you have that balance between imported and local. Right? Ensure to incorporate your friends and family on that shopping list to save some money.
Exciting.
Make it exciting, right? Really, balance is the key. So I want to leave that with our consumers, that balance is definitely key, and just some other tricks and trades that that help a lot too as well. When there are deals in various groceries, so like for example, if they have rotisserie chicken for like the 2 for $100, you can purchase it. You might say, but I don't need all that chicken. You can freeze one, and then it can reappear back in that oven. You can throw some sauce and it's fresh. Okay, so some tricks and trades that we can do to add value to your life, add value to your cooking experience, to your nutrition, is definitely key.
Thank you so much, Shaunelle, for joining me today and for sharing so many insights on this very important topic. So remember, everyone, shopping does not have to be frustrating. It can just be exciting with the right planning and just being intentional when you go into the groceries or when you go to the markets. So thank you for tuning in today, and look out for our next episode next week.
Bye.